You think you have time, but here's the brutal truth that nobody wants to face. The average human gets exactly 29,200 days on this planet. That's it. No extensions, no do-overs, no bonus rounds. If you're 25 years old right now, you've already burned through 9,125 of those days. They're gone forever and you can't get them back. Most people live like they're immortal. They say things like, I'll start that business next year, or I'll travel when I retire, or I'll spend more time with family when things calm down. But here's what they don't realize. Things never calm down. Life doesn't get easier, it just gets different. And while you're waiting for the perfect moment, your days are slipping away one by one. The problem isn't that you don't have enough time. The problem is that you don't understand how time really works. You've been lied to about productivity, about success, about what actually matters. Today, I'm going to tear down those lies and show you how to live like your life depends on it, because it does. Let's start with something that will blow your mind. Remember when you were 8 years old and summer vacation felt like it lasted forever? A single week felt like a month? But now entire years feel like they pass in a blink. What changed? You did. Your brain is a pattern recognition machine. When you were a kid, everything was new. Your first day of school, your first bike ride, your first sleepover. Your brain was working overtime, recording every detail, and that made time stretch. But as an adult, you've fallen into routines. You wake up at the same time, eat the same breakfast, take the same route to work, watch the same shows. Your brain recognizes these patterns and essentially fast forwards through them. This is why people say their lives are flying by. They're living on autopilot, and autopilot is a time thief. But here's the incredible thing. You can hack this system. Start taking different routes to work. Try new restaurants. Have conversations with strangers. Learn something completely outside your field. Each new experience forces your brain to slow down and pay attention, making your life feel longer and richer. Most people think they're terrible at estimating time, but they're wrong about which direction they're wrong in. We consistently overestimate what we can accomplish in a day and drastically underestimate what we can accomplish in a year. This single mistake ruins more dreams than lack of talent ever could. You plan to write a book in a weekend, learn a language in a month, or get in shape in 6 weeks. When you inevitably fall short, you quit. But what if you flipped this? What if you accepted that meaningful change takes time, but small daily actions compound into extraordinary results? Writing 200 words a day seems pathetic, but it's a book. In a year, learning 5 new words in a foreign language feels insignificant, but it's fluency in 3 years. The people living the most fulfilling lives understand something crucial. They know exactly what they're optimizing for. Most people have never actually sat down and decided what matters to them. They inherit their goals from society, from their parents, from social media. They're climbing ladders that are leaning against the wrong walls. Here's a question that will change your life. When you're on your deathbed, what will you regret not doing? Not having enough money? Working more hours? Checking more emails? Of course not. You'll regret not spending enough time with people you love, not taking risks, not being authentic, not pursuing what excited you. Yet somehow you spend most of your time doing exactly the things you'll regret. The solution is brutal prioritization. Warren Buffett has a strategy called the 25 to 5 rule. Write down your top 25 goals, then circle the 5 most important ones. Here's the twist. Everything you didn't circle isn't just deprioritized, it's banned. Those 20 goals are your avoid at all costs list because they're dangerous. They're good enough to steal your attention, but not important enough to deserve. This is why successful people seem to have supernatural focus. They're not more talented or disciplined. They've just eliminated more options. They understand that saying no to good opportunities is how you say yes to great ones. Let's talk about relationships, because this is where most people are completely backwards. You think relationships are about finding the right people, but actually relationships are about becoming the right person. Every interaction you have is either adding value to someone else's life or taking from it. There's no neutral. Most people approach relationships like emotional vampires. They show up when they need something, disappear when they don't, and wonder why their relationships feel shallow. But here's how relationship masters think. They make deposits before they need withdrawals. A quick text asking how someone's important presentation went. Remembering their kid's name. Showing up when things are tough, not just when things are. These tiny gestures seem insignificant, but they're building relationship wealth that pays dividends for decades. And here's something that might surprise. Your weakest connections are often your most valuable. That person you met at a conference 2 years ago, your college roommate's cousin, the neighbor you occasionally chat with. These weak ties are your bridges to new worlds. Your close friends live in the same bubble you do, but weak ties connect you to entirely different networks, opportunities, and perspectives. Most people wait for relationships to happen naturally, but that's like waiting for fitness to happen naturally. You have to be intentional. Schedule regular check-ins with people you care about. Not when you need something, just because you care. Create traditions. Remember birthdays. Be the person who brings people together. Now let's destroy some myths about success and career. Forget everything you've been told about following your passion. Passion follows excellence, not the other way around. You don't have some predetermined passion waiting to be discovered. You develop passion by getting good at things that matter. The people who seem naturally passionate about their work didn't start that way. They started by getting competent, then good, then excellent. Excellence creates autonomy. Autonomy creates engagement, and engagement feels like passion. This is why following your passion often leads to misery, but following your curiosity and developing skills leads to fulfillment. Career success isn't about climbing a ladder. It's about building a unique combination of skills that makes you irreplaceable. The most successful people aren't the best at any one thing. They're the only ones who combine specific skills in a specific way. You might be the only person who understands both coding and psychology, or marketing and marine biology, or finance and comedy. These intersections are where real opportunities live. Most people play it safe in their careers, but safe is actually the riskiest strategy. The job market is changing so fast that what's safe today might be obsolete tomorrow. The real safety comes from being adaptable, from building a portfolio of skills that work together, from being comfortable with uncertainty. Here's something nobody tells you about making decisions. Perfect information doesn't exist. You'll never have all the facts, never be completely certain, never eliminate all risks. Waiting for perfect information is just another form of procrastination. Successful people make decisions with 70% of the information they wish they had, then course correct as they go. Let's talk about something that's destroying your potential. Without you realizing it, energy management. You've been told that time management is the key to productivity, but that's only half the story. Having 8 focused, energized hours is infinitely more valuable than having 12 exhausted, distracted hours. Your energy isn't constant throughout the day. You have natural rhythms, peaks, and valleys. Most people fight against these rhythms instead of working with them. They try to do creative work when their brain is tired and answer emails when their creativity is at its peak. This is backwards. Start tracking your energy levels for a week. When do you feel most alert, most creative, most social? Then design your day around these natural patterns. Do your most important work when your energy is highest, not when your calendar says you should. Sleep isn't a luxury. It's the foundation everything else is built on. When you're sleep deprived, your decision-making becomes impaired. Your emotional regulation breaks down, your creativity disappears, and your relationships suffer. Yet somehow we've created a culture that celebrates sleep deprivation as dedication. Here's the truth: successful people understand rest is productive. Recovery isn't weakness, it's how you multiply your output. Your brain needs downtime to process information, form memories, and generate insights. Those breakthrough ideas rarely come when you're grinding. They come when you're relaxed. Most people think creativity is some mystical force that strikes when it feels like it. Wrong. Creativity is a process, and like any process, it can be optimized. Creativity isn't about having perfect conditions, it's about showing up consistently and pushing through the resistance. Every creative person knows this secret. Your first ideas are usually terrible, and that's exactly how it's supposed to work. You have to get the bad ideas out of the way to reach the good ones. This is why professionals create on schedule while amateurs wait for inspiration. But here's where most people go wrong with creativity. They try to create and judge simultaneously. That's like trying to drive while looking backwards. Creation and editing are different processes that require different mindsets. When you're creating, turn off your inner critic completely. When you're editing, be ruthless. Want to become more creative. Start combining things that don't normally go together. Innovation rarely comes from inventing something completely new. It comes from connecting existing ideas in novel ways. The iPhone wasn't the first phone or the first computer. It was the first thing that successfully combined both. Let's address the elephant in the room: social media and digital distraction. Your phone isn't just a device, it's a slot machine designed by teams of neuroscientists to capture your attention. Every notification is pulling you away from what matters. Every scroll is stealing minutes from your life. The average person checks their phone 150 times per day. That's every 6 minutes during waking hours. Even if each check only takes 30 seconds, that's 75 minutes of pure distraction. But the real cost isn't the time spent looking at your phone. It's the time it takes to refocus after each interruption. Here's what you need to understand about attention. It's not renewable. You get a finite amount each day, and every distraction depletes it. Protecting your attention isn't selfish, it's essential. Create phone-free zones in your life. Turn off non-essential notifications. Use apps that block distracting websites. During work hours, the most successful people aren't smarter than you. They're just better at protecting their attention. They understand that in attention economy, your focus is your most valuable asset. Now, let's talk about something that makes most people uncomfortable: failure. You've been taught that failure is something to avoid, but that's backwards. Failure isn't the opposite of success, it's the price of success. Every person living an extraordinary life has a graveyard of failures behind them. The difference between people who succeed and people who don't isn't that successful people fail less. It's that they fail faster, learn faster, and move on faster. They understand that failure is information, not judgment. Most people avoid failure by never really trying. They take safe jobs, make safe choices, live safe lives, but safety is an illusion. The job you think is secure could disappear tomorrow. The safe investment could crash. The comfortable relationship could end. Nothing is guaranteed except change. The counterintuitive truth: taking calculated risks is actually safer than playing it safe. When you develop skills, build relationships, and create multiple options, you become antifragile. You don't just survive change, you benefit from it. Let's get practical about money, because most people have this completely wrong. Money isn't about buying things, it's about buying options. Every dollar you save is a vote for your future freedom. Every unnecessary purchase is a vote for a longer servitude. The wealthy don't just make more money. They think about money differently. They understand that your most expensive possessions aren't the ones with the highest price tags. They're the ones that lock you into expensive lifestyles. That fancy car doesn't just cost its purchase price. It costs insurance, maintenance, parking, and the stress of protecting it. Here's a question that will change how you spend. For every purchase, ask yourself, am I buying this with money or with time? Because ultimately, money is just stored time. You traded hours of your life for those dollars. Is this purchase worth those hours? The goal isn't to hoard money, it's to reach the point where you can make decisions based on what's right for you, not what you can afford. That's true wealth. When money stops being the primary factor in your decisions, your health isn't separate from your success. It's the foundation of your success. Every other area of your life either improves or suffers based on your physical and mental health. You can't build a meaningful career on a failing body. You can't maintain great relationships when you're exhausted. You can't think clearly when you're out of shape. But here's what most people get wrong about health. They think it requires massive changes. 2-hour gym sessions, complete diet overhauls, expensive supplements. That's why most health efforts fail. They're too big, too sudden, too unsustainable. Real health comes from tiny, consistent actions. 10 push-ups every morning, a 5-minute walk after lunch, going to bed 15 minutes earlier, drinking 1 extra glass of water. These seem insignificant, but they compound over years into extraordinary results. Your body and mind are connected in ways science is just beginning to understand. Physical movement doesn't just improve your body, it improves your thinking. Some of the world's greatest thinkers were also walkers. Aristotle, Einstein, Jobs. They understood that moving your body moves your mind. Learning isn't something that stops after school. It's just a skill that determines whether you thrive or merely survive in a rapidly changing world. The half-life of skills is shrinking. What you learned 5 years ago might be obsolete today. But here's the good news. Learning how to learn is ultimate meter dash skill that the fastest way to learn anything is to teach it to someone else. When you explain something, you're forced to understand it deeply. You can't fake comprehension when you're teaching. This is why the best way to master a subject isn't to consume more information. It's to start sharing what you know. Most people try to learn everything. Smart people learn how to find and apply information quickly. In a world where facts are instantly accessible, knowing how to think matters more than knowing what to think. Emotional intelligence isn't just about understanding feelings. It's about understanding the physics of emotions. Every emotion has a chemical signature in your body. Anger floods you with cortisol and adrenaline. Fear triggers fight or flight responses. Joy releases dopamine and serotonin. Here's what changes everything. Emotions are temporary. The neurochemicals that create any emotion last about 90 seconds in your bloodstream. After that, you're choosing to recreate that emotional state. Understanding this gives you power over your reactions. Most people are emotional reactors. Something happens. They feel something. They act on that feeling. But there's a gap between stimulus and response, and in that gap lies your freedom. You can't always control what happens to you, but you can always control how you respond to what happens to you. The most emotionally intelligent people don't avoid difficult emotions. They feel them fully and then let them pass. They understand that emotions are information, not instructions. Fear might be telling you something is dangerous, but it might also be telling you something is important. Let's talk about something most people never consider. Your environment is programming. You, the books on your shelf, the people you spend time with, the podcasts you listen to, the shows you watch. Everything in your environment is either pulling you toward your goals or away from them. Successful people don't rely on willpower. They design their environment to make good choices automatic. They put their gym clothes next to their bed so working out is easier than not working out. They surround themselves with books instead of junk food. They spend time with people who inspire them instead of people who drain them. Your environment extends beyond your physical space to your digital environment. The websites you visit, the social media accounts you follow, the notifications you allow, each of these is shaping your thoughts, your mood, your perception of what's possible. Most people let their environment happen to them. Intentional people design their environment to support their goals. Here's something that might make you uncomfortable. You become like the 5 people you spend the most time with. Look around. Are these people living the kind of life you want to live? Are they growing, learning, pushing boundaries? Or are they comfortable, complaining, making excuses? This doesn't mean you should abandon friends who are struggling. It means you should be intentional about who you're learning from, who you're being influenced by, who you're becoming like. Surround yourself with people who challenge you to grow, who believe in possibilities you haven't considered, who are living evidence that your dreams are achievable. Most people think. Networking is about collecting business cards and attending events, Real networking is about creating value for others before you need anything from them. It's about being genuinely interested in other people's success. It's about making connections between people who should know each other. The best networkers aren't takers, they're givers. They're constantly thinking about how they can help others, how they can make introductions, how they can share resources. This approach builds genuine relationships that last decades, not transactional connections that disappear when the immediate need is gone. Your career isn't just about what you do for work. It's about how you grow as a person. The most fulfilling careers aren't about finding your passion. They're about becoming passionate through mastery. Passion isn't something you have. It's something you develop. Stop looking for the perfect job and start building the perfect skill set. The future belongs to people who can adapt, who can learn quickly, who can solve problems that don't have existing solutions. These aren't just job skills, they're life skills. Most people optimize their careers for short-term comfort instead of long-term growth. They take the easy job, avoid challenges, stay in their comfort zone. But your comfort zone is a beautiful place where nothing ever grows. The most successful people are comfortable being uncomfortable. They actively seek challenges that stretch their abilities. Here's the truth about goals that nobody talks about. Most goals are actually distractions. They're socially acceptable ways to avoid doing what actually matters. You set a goal to lose 20 pounds to avoid addressing why you eat emotionally. You set a goal to make more money to avoid confronting whether you're in the right career. Real goals aren't about achievement. They're about becoming. Who do you need to become to live the life you want? What habits, mindsets, and skills does that person have? Start becoming that person today. And the achievements will follow naturally. The most successful people don't just set goals, they design systems. Goals tell you where you want to go, but systems get you there. If you want to write a book, don't just set a goal to finish it. Create a system for writing every day. If you want to get in shape, don't just set a weight loss goal. Create a system for daily movement. Systems are more powerful than goals because they're process focused rather than outcome focused. You can control your processes, but you can't always control your outcomes. Focus on what you can control, and the outcomes will take care of themselves. Let's address something that's probably affecting you right now. Decision fatigue. Every choice you make depletes your mental energy. What to wear, what to eat, which route to take, which task to do first. By the end of the day, your decision-making ability is exhausted, which is exactly when you're making choices about how to spend your evening. This is why successful people often seem boring. They wear similar clothes, eat similar foods, follow similar routines. They're not lacking creativity. They're preserving their mental energy for decisions that actually matter. Steve Jobs wore the same black turtleneck every day. Obama wore only blue or gray suits. They understood that decision fatigue is real, and they protected their cognitive resources. Create default choices for recurring decisions. Automate whatever you can. Use habits to eliminate decisions entirely when you're not wasting mental energy on trivial choices. You have more capacity for the choices that shape your life. Money is one of the most misunderstood forces in modern life. People think it's about accumulation, but it's actually about circulation. Money is like water. It needs to flow to create value. The goal isn't to hoard it, it's to direct it toward things that multiply your time, energy, and options. Most people have their relationship with money backwards. They work harder to make more money, to buy more things to store, and bigger houses that require more money to maintain. This is the hamster wheel of modern life. You're running faster and faster, but not actually getting anywhere. Smart money management isn't about restriction. It's about intention. It's about spending money on things that buy you time, not things that cost you time. A house cleaner might cost money, but it buys you hours every week. A good mattress might be expensive, but it improves your sleep, which improves everything else. Here's the ultimate money question. Are you using money to buy convenience or to buy meaning? Convenience purchases make life easier temporarily. Meaning purchases make life better permanently. Experiences, education, tools that help you. Create investments in your health and relationships. These purchases pay dividends for years. The relationship between money and happiness is real, but it's not what you think. Money does increase happiness, but only up to the point where your basic needs are met. After that, the correlation breaks. Down. This is why people who make six figures can feel just as stressed about money as people who make five figures. True financial wisdom isn't about making more money. It's about wanting less. It's about understanding the difference between your needs and your wants, between what society tells you you should have and what actually makes you happy. Most people never audit their energy, the way they audit their finances. But energy, not time, is your most precious resource. You can have all the time in the world, but if you don't have energy, you can't do anything meaningful with it. Energy comes in different forms: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. Each type affects the others. When your physical energy is low, your mental clarity suffers. When your emotional energy is drained, your physical energy depletes faster. Understanding this interconnection helps you optimize your entire system. Some activities give you energy, others drain it. Energy-giving activities are different for everyone, but they usually involve things like movement, nature, meaningful work, positive relationships, learning, and creating. Energy-draining activities often involve things like conflict, boredom, meaningless tasks, toxic relationships, and constant decision-making. The key is to audit your life for energy vampires and energy sources. Minimize the vampires, maximize the sources. This might mean saying no to certain social obligations, changing your work environment, or ending relationships that consistently drain you. Here's something most people never consider: your physical. Environment affects your mental state more than you realize. Cluttered spaces create cluttered thinking. Bright lights affect your circadian rhythms. Colors influence your mood. Sounds impact your stress levels. Designing your environment isn't just about aesthetics, it's about optimization. What does your space communicate to you about who you are and what you value? Does it support your goals or distract from them? Small changes in your environment can create significant changes in your behavior. Let's talk about something that determines the quality of your entire life: your standards. Not your goals, your standards. Goals are what you hope to achieve. Standards are what you refuse to accept. Most people have high goals but low standards, which is why they consistently underperform their potential. If your standard is to never miss a workout, you'll find ways to exercise even when it's inconvenient. If your standard is to treat people with respect, you'll behave differently during conflicts. If your standard is to keep learning, you'll find educational opportunities everywhere. Standards aren't about perfection. They're about consistency. They're about deciding what kind of person you are and then acting like that person, especially when you don't feel like it. Your standards define your identity, and your identity determines your actions. Most people lower their standards to meet their current behavior instead of raising their behavior to meet their standards. This is the path to mediocrity. Extraordinary people do the opposite. They set standards that make them uncomfortable and then grow into them. Here's something that will change how you think about problems. Every problem you have is actually a skill you haven't developed yet. Bad with money? You haven't developed financial literacy. Struggling in relationships? You haven't developed emotional intelligence and feeling stuck in your career. You haven't developed the skills for the next level. This reframe changes everything. Instead of feeling helpless about your problems, you feel empowered. Problems become puzzles to solve, not permanent limitations to accept. Every challenge becomes an opportunity to grow. Most people avoid their problems, which only makes them bigger. Smart people lean into their problems, which makes them stronger. Your biggest challenges often point toward your biggest opportunities for growth. Time is the ultimate democracy. Rich or poor, young or old, everyone gets the same 24 hours each day. The difference isn't in how much time you have, it's in how intentionally you use it. Most people spend time like they spend money, without much thought, on things that don't really matter. But you can change this starting right now. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when things slow down. Right now. Begin by doing one small thing differently. Take a different route home. Call someone you haven't talked to in months. Write down 3 things you want to accomplish this year. Read for 15 minutes instead of scrolling. Your life is happening right now. In this moment, as you're listening to these words, it's not waiting for you to get ready, to feel confident, to have more time. It's happening now. The question is, are you happening with it or are you letting it happen to you? Remember, you don't have to change everything at once. In fact, trying to change everything usually means changing nothing. Pick one area that resonated with you. Maybe it's protecting your attention. Maybe it's building better relationships. Maybe it's optimizing your energy. Start there. Small changes compound into extraordinary results, but only if you start. And the best time to start isn't someday. It's today. Because life is short, but it's also the longest thing you'll ever do. Make it count.